Welcome back to the Real Couchwives Podcast, where we overanalyze all things Bravo. Today, we are back with a good old-fashioned recap. We're recapping Southern Charm, Season 10, Episode 3. Very excited. But also, Summer House trailer just dropped, and it looks incredible, so we are obviously going to talk about that.
Interesting kind of dynamics that are starting to unfold. All the things I think are going to kind of start to play over the course of the season is really kind of coming together. I think the way that they've done like the storytelling in this season has been like super interesting because, you know, the first episode is the JT faux pas, like the original sin, if you will.
You're like, JT is the villain of this season. He quit, so we definitely are going to go even harder on him.
Yeah.
I have to imagine he really didn't help himself by quitting. I feel like, I don't know at what point they were in the editing, but if he quit before the editing, they're for sure like, this man is persona non grata, like F this guy, let's give him the worst ever edit. And he doesn't help himself with like his general actions and words.
Yes, unfortunately not. I did hear a rumor, I think it was it Bravo by Gays by Bravo, Bravos by Gays, or Queens of Bravo or something. It was one of the Bravo accounts that JT's actually back filming confessionals.
I saw that
Did
too.
you see that too? Yeah.
But like, that feels really late. I don't know.
It does feel late. Like, do they still have some pickup? Maybe they do. Who knows? I guess we'll find out. That's the exciting thing about this series, is all will be revealed in good time.
It's true. But yeah, so they're putting that at the beginning. What other stories are you already seeing come through?
And then we're obviously seeing kind of, you know, in episode 2, it kind of continues from there, right? It evolves into the story about how now JT is kind of coming up with these stories about him and Madison and Brett being jealous of them, or Brett kind of thinking that some kind of affair has occurred in the Bahamas. Funny. Super interesting. And then we also have, you know, what is going to probably be like the riff of the season, I guess, is JT versus Patricia, and Craig lights that fire and he says that allegedly JT called Patricia a bitch, and footage not found is basically
found.
Bravo's answer to that.
It's true. And then I feel like there's just so many things that are swirling around. There's also like the Shep, you know, healing on his healing journey, going to ayahuasca.
Yes.
Part of me thinks, dude,
I don't know if that's gonna be much of a story. Like, I feel like
done.
we're episode 3 and it's done. It's over.
I feel, which like is crazy. If that's the case, then like this man fully gets a good edit, like, yeah, because he's like part of the core or something. I don't know, like it almost looks like they're gonna go into Craig more, and Craig not wanting to drink and wanting to be Martha Stewart, and like that's gonna be what they have a gripe with more than Shep's actions. So that's just wild.
I know, it is crazy. It is. So, you know, you were doing your rewatch of Southern Charm, so I started to do a rewatch. I had to do what you were doing, so now I'm doing my rewatch.
It's very Mean Girls of you.
I had to. I saw Katie Heron wearing flip-flops and army pants, so I bought army pants and flip-flops. So I started watching season 4 of Southern Charm, and it is just so crazy because it is like almost word for word the exact same Shep kind of like setup of like him being like, this is my, you know, I have to have a wake-up call, I have to move away from the party scene of Charleston and move a little bit further to the beach, and that's going to be what's going to fix me, basically.
Is it not? But this is what I mean. Like, this has been Shep's thing since season 1, and now there's actually this huge kind of like point where he really reaches a little bit of a breaking point where he realizes he has to change. We cover it for 1 episode and we're just done now, and this is it, and he's healed and he goes for runs with his dog and like all is well.
Well, that, or is it that, you know, okay, we've had multiple seasons of Shep being on this healing journey, you know, like he's a work in progress, like Ramona and Jax Taylor, you know, like maybe they're like, it's kind of a tired story, let's go somewhere else where we don't really need to talk about this. And so the direction is like, we'll talk about Craig and we'll talk about all the like other drama that's happening over here.
I don't know, it's just giving a little, who knows, like we'll see, but to me it just feels like they swept it under the rug and now they're just gonna go after Craig for like kind of crazy reasons.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, there's that, and so that was one story, but now it's clear that the new story is Craig is basically too much of a goody-goody and we think that he's fake and he needs to show some vulnerability or whatever. I don't know, I have thoughts on that.
I don't know. I think we'll see it kind of like develop over the course of the season. Luckily, they kind of don't get into it like too much this episode. There is a little bit of a scene between Austin and Shep. But I think that the main drama kind of in this episode continues to be a lot of the JT stuff, and we start to get some of the brewing of the girls scenes as well, which I'm excited to get into.
The girls it is interesting. I was also thinking about this. I know we'll talk about it later, but Sally is the only girl who has made the crossover from Southern Hospitality to Southern Charm. And I bet the Southern Hospitality cast is so mad.
Annoyed. No, that could have been me.
Actually, who knows? Maybe they like having their own show. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, hard to say.
Yeah. So let's get into the recap.
Let's get into the recap. All right. So the episode really kicks off. There's a little round robin. You know, Vanita is steaming her pajamas from the inside out. Don't do that, guys. It's really dangerous. Steam is so hot. Don't do it.
That's true.
Molly's working out. Gaston's using the leaf blower. JT is taking his insulin. And then he's working on this apology letter to Miss Patricia. He's literally, as he's writing it out, he's like reading it out loud to us. And then also pondering, how do you spell admittedly?
This scene to me was so funny because like just him with his like neck sweater and his backwards cap, and he's like writing, he's like taking pen to paper, like sounding out words, and like, was he not infantilized in this scene? Like he seemed like a small child.
So it's interesting that you say that, because this scene kind of reminded me of Thomas, not like, because so like in Thomas's role in Southern Charm, he was kind of like playing this character of like, I'm the old school like Southern gentleman. He kind of like tried to like come off as like suave and stuff at times. He obviously
speaking
then speaking his horrible French, and really kind of like was like a level of goofiness where it kind of felt like he was in on the joke, but also like we were all laughing at him. Like,
he was not in on the joke.
Well, maybe in moments, hard to say. And yeah, it's kind of interesting to think of like JT kind of like stepping into that kind of like, because there has been a bit of a hole of like, you know, what Thomas
delusional older man.
Sure. Maybe it's not the words I would have used, but yeah, like the kind of like Southern gentleman.
Well, that's what I would put for Thomas.
Super going for.
Yeah,
like that's what he really wanted to portray himself as, and I think JT does that as well. The thing is that Thomas was obviously also like uber toxic and like had all these other allegations against him that made it really dark as well. And while there's, you know, other new different frustrations and annoyances with JT, it's never the level of like heaviness that we had with Thomas. So
no. Are you specifically, when you said that though, I thought about Thomas writing the note to Catherine.
Which one?
I don't know, one of the notes that they exchanged.
Okay. Like, dearest Catherine, like him being like Heathcliff and her being what was the Wuthering Heights girl? I would not know. Was it Catherine? I think it might have been Catherine.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, I don't know. I was watching that scene and it was just so funny because it was just like, what is happening with this guy? Like, what? I don't know. He just came off as like a child in that scene.
I know. And like, it's one of those things too where he's using like the tiniest piece of paper that he can possibly use. And he started off so big, and then you have to like fit the rest of the note in. And by the time that you're on the bottom line, you're like just writing.
That's one of my favorite John Mulaney skits. Have you seen it? When he's like, big ass bee. If you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. And then when you get to birthday. No, that was with the H. I messed it up. Anyways, it's a good skit.
Yeah.
Clearly, it is the Friday
I know exactly
of like before Christmas holiday for 2 weeks. So honestly, the brains be scrambled. I'm sorry.
Things are loopy. Things are wacky and crazy. Yeah. We love it. So anyways, that's the scene. We get JT writing his formal apology to Patricia. We'll get to see it later and see how it's received. So all good things happening there. So we then have a scene between Shep and Austin. And this is kind of where they're setting up like where the episode's going to go, right? So they're talking about how, you know, Austin is with Audrey. He's super happy. So we're like, okay, so we're probably going to get some Audrey in this episode. And Chef's talking about Sienna. And we're like, okay, so we're going to get these girls. We're finally going to get introduced to these girls in this episode a little bit more fully. As you mentioned, they do kind of like, take the opportunity to start to rag on Craig a little bit. Austin does compare him to, trying to attempt to be Martha Stewart, or trying to come across as kind of Martha Stewart, and then says that even Martha Stewart, like, hangs out with Snoop Dogg and like does all the things. And so maybe there are a lot of similarities actually between Craig and Martha Stewart.
Honestly, after watching the Martha Stewart documentary, I'm like, yo, Martha's a baller.
She is. Oh my God. That was actually such a good documentary. I really enjoyed that.
So I don't know if they actually kind of gave Craig a compliment there.
Yeah, they did. They did indeed. But yeah, so we know how it's going to go. This will be a theme throughout the season. Basically, the TLDR is that Austin is missing his buddy. And we get that. We can relate.
Yeah. But they don't have to, the way that they come at it is so frustrating. And also the way that they chose to talk through Craig's arc. They're like, oh, like Craig is so different now. And they showed him, like when he was like 20 something and like getting messed up on like Adderall and alcohol. And it's like, he has changed and he's gone through an arc.
Like also part of the juxtaposition of that is like, this is you kind of being a screw up in your 20s, trying to figure out who you are and like, trying to have like your first taste of freedom and really enjoying that, and your first taste of money and fame and all these like different things that were coming at him. He was literally like 25. Like I think he might have been like 24 when they filmed, and he was 25 when it came out. Like he was a young kid. He's only 35 now.
And also like I feel like I'm saying this so much because like we were hard on Craig. Like when we saw him on Winter House, we were like, this guy sucks. Like this is awful. Like his behavior is unacceptable. And I truly do feel like he saw himself on camera. And also he said before he wanted to be like a man that Paige could be with. So like part of it was also changing for her. But I think he ultimately wanted to for him. I feel like this version of him is so much better than where he was before. And he's just kind of like grown and matured. And like the fact that they're now using that against him like annoys me.
Yeah. It is annoying, and as somebody who like myself has to like protect my peace a lot of the times, I can totally empathize with Craig and how hard it is to kind of be drawing certain boundaries about how you want to be and how you want to spend your time, and sometimes that does kind of come at a cost of like not being able to see everybody that you want to see all the time and do everything that you want to be able to do all the time. So he's just doing the best he can, I'm sure.
Yeah, also his house is an actual dream. Like his backyard is oh my God.
Yeah. It's amazing.
That's goals.
Yeah.
Is that the next scene?
And that is indeed the next scene. So the next scene that we have is Craig and Paige at his house. They're kind of prepping the space for Madison to come over. Madison walks in, and her and Paige are literally in matching like coral outfits. It's very
But like
adorable.
not even just the same color. Like literally this is the same outfit.
Well, no, it's not even. But that's the weird thing is that it's not.
It was different variations, but it was
like,
the same.
Yeah, they probably like ordered the same set. It was just like, oh, I like that top, and so it's slightly different.
Yeah,
but
it was very cute. It was a very
really
cute set.
It was really cute, and it gave us an opportunity to hear a little bit about kind of the Madison take on the JT drama, as well as I think kind of, obviously because now Madison, after Craig spilled the beans at Patricia's party last week, like she knows that JT is like started to kind of spread this rumor about the fact that like, she's allegedly hooked up with JT, and that, or at least that Brett thinks that she's allegedly hooked up with JT, and I think we also kind of get to the root of why she's so upset about that rumor, because we also like kind of see the pairing of it with the fact that her husband has had thyroid cancer, and this is something that we learned in the previous episode, and so he's been like having like health struggles like for like the last year, and we might actually even see more about that in like the next episode too.
Yeah, that is devastating, and he's so young.
Yeah, he's so young, they're young, they wanted to have children, they were about to like start trying, and all this like life stuff is coming to come up at them, so.
No, that's really sad, and I think it also does give more context of why she's getting so upset over this rumor, is like that is just the absolute last thing that they would need to deal with, and it's just so ridiculous, and I'm sure they're very like high emotions. Yeah. I do want to talk about that though, the rumor or whatever the heck that JT is saying. Part of this though is kind of, as much as JT really bugs me, but he also has that level of delusion that you do need in like, it's giving housewife almost. The fact that this man can even put this rumor into the world as if this is a thing that lives in the realm of reality is like,
He's like,
hilarious.
wow, it's so weird that Brett wanted to confirm who was in Madison's room when we were on a group vacation together. Like, wow, he must think that something's happening between Madison and I. Wow.
He must
like,
be so jealous when she put my shirt on and made fun of me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes you can't really see how JT comes up with the things that he comes up with, and he definitely doesn't understand how, and maybe he will over the course of the season, and maybe this is why he has left the show, how weighty the words that he says can be, basically, right? Like, you can't just throw random things out there and not expect that to cause problems for you, for the group, all of the things.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And then Paige being like, trust me, no one thought that.
Nobody was like, wow, Madison and JT get along so well. They must be having an affair.
I do love Madison and Paige, and I want to see more of them together.
I was actually really, because I remember when Paige like first started dating Craig, and she said that she was getting along the most with Madison and Catherine. And I remember being like, wow, that's crazy. Like, Catherine, sure, because Craig was at least closer to her, but like Madison was not somebody that Craig was close with at all. And like their relationship is really kind of like done up.
Yeah, it's true.
Anyway, so moving on. So the bulk of this episode is really centered around this dog party, which is a sentence you only really say if you're watching reality TV quite often.
Specifically Southern Charm. Like, they've had a dog marriage. Which I really appreciate. I feel like this is the show that loves dogs as much as we do.
It really is. And everybody has a dog, which I think is actually really interesting when everybody shows up. Almost everybody has a dog when they show up to the dog party later this episode.
Or they borrow dogs.
Exactly. If you're Austin, you're not ready for that level of commitment yet. It's okay. Anyway, so Rodrigo and Tyler are going to be having a doggy parton, as in Dolly Parton, doggy Parton, party for their dogs, Ella and Beau. I guess it's Bella's birthday. And they just basically talk about how, like they love senior dogs and how they would have all of the dogs in the world, which I can totally relate to. So I appreciate that.
I forgot that Rodrigo is part of the cast. And
really?
I'm once again going to use this opportunity to make it known that I'm upset Olivia's not here.
Fair enough. I understand that, especially because Taylor's still here. You're just like,
Taylor's still there, and also just like all these people who they choose to keep as friends of, and like I guess he's not main cast, he's friend of, and we like him, but like what have we gotten from him? Literally nothing.
Not a lot. I think it's more the like he's like the connective tissue for some of these things than anything else.
Yeah,
I understand that, but at the same time, like I do think that Olivia is past the point of being in this group that I like. While I'm sad that she's not there, like I'm not like missing her.
It is true. That's true. I guess like I don't know where she would fit into it, but the other new person who's not in this episode, which also confuses me, there's a bunch of new people who like are only in certain episodes, is Dr. Eddie's husband.
Yes.
And he has been in many episodes as Cam's date to like every event.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and he was in last week's episode for just the dinner party, I think.
Yeah.
And was briefly in the episode before that for the Carolina Cup. Yeah, we haven't
I didn't even recognize that.
He and Dr. Eddie showed up for that. So, I guess we do still have. So we're getting the girls this episode. Maybe we'll get Ryan and Dr. Eddie more next week. We'll see.
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you to have a grievance.
No, it's totally fair. So we do get the scene where Whitney and Patricia receive the note from JT. Great. So I think more than anything what this does is it just kind of neatly wraps up with a little bow the fact that like JT wrote the letter. It's been delivered to Patricia. She's read it out loud. She notes that the art of letter writing has been lost. And so she commends him for that, basically, and decides that they'll be cordial, and that's about that.
Yeah, honestly, a handwritten note was a good way to get to Patricia, I have to say.
Yeah, I do think that was probably the smartest way to, just broach the topic, let it be out there. And Whitney, I guess, also lets it be known that he doesn't think that JT said that Patricia was a bitch. So
right. It's also funny that Patricia didn't know that he gave canes to everyone, and she thought that he just gave a cane to her, which would make it really bad.
Would be worse. Also just weird in general, right? Like
Yeah.
He went with something, he tried to make it work. It's just he doesn't really get the art of timing. He's starting to get the art of letter writing, not the art of timing. We'll get there. So then we get our first Sienna scene. So Shep has gone out for skinny lattes and croissants. Delicious, amazing. And thought that was funny.
I know.
Basically, they talk about how like they are planning on spending a month together in the Bahamas. I think it's very optimistic of them to be planning this far ahead in the future.
Sienna does not seem jazzed about the months they're going to spend together.
Yeah, does she even think that it's gonna happen? Like, I don't know. And then we get this like weird fantasy from Shep where he talks about how like he just envisions settling down in the Bahamas with her and like having children and have them like running around on the beach, and you're just like, okay.
Yeah. So the
We're at that
commentary
stage.
that's been coming out, and you see it in the trailers, but also like people who are doing interviews or talking about it, and you can see it from her introduction to the show, is it's being questioned how into him she actually is.
Yeah.
We know apparently she was a fan of the show. And to be honest, giving just their interactions, I am 100% reading that. Like, she
Yeah.
is just like, he is so much more excited about this than she is.
Yeah, unfortunately, I get the sense of that as well, and that's why I kind of am like, it's interesting to hear him kind of like talking about like this like alleged fantasy of like her, like having children with her, and like I don't know. I think is it just because he's trying to like rub it in Taylor's face of like, hey, look, I also have a partner, and now I think I want to have babies with her, and like I want to settle down with her. Like, is it that, or what is the drive for that?
The way he talks about her is also, there's something just so strange. Like, yeah, it's giving a bit too much. Like, she's the most beautiful person that's ever walked this earth, and there's no one like her.
Yeah,
and she's so smart. She's so much smarter than Taylor, you big
she's
idiot.
amazing. Yeah, that's just it. Like, it does feel like he's kind of like trying to like one up Taylor like a little bit, to be like, look, I can do better than you, and I'm in a really good place now, and I don't.
Yeah, and she is like, she's stunning, like,
No,
for sure.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny the way that, also, like, how old is she? She looks very young.
She's like 26. He's 44 and she's 26.
It's so funny. Like, literally, he's doing. I think we found this after last episode. Did you see like a snippet from one of the older seasons where Shep is literally like, oh, when he turned 35, he's like, oh, I feel like this is like my last year. Like, I don't want to be in my 50s, like running around like Thomas, like hooking up with girls in their 20s. And it's like, he's like, if that happens, stick a fork in me because I'm done. It's like, sir,
sorry. At least you're not as bad as Thomas. Thomas was like 52, as we discovered also last week.
Yeah, that was
yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it is time, but also like it would be time to do it with somebody more age appropriate and that actually wants to settle down with you and settle down in general.
Yeah, exactly. It was a little bit weird to watch. Like, it was very not Shep.
No, it was weird to watch, and that's kind of the weird. That's kind of why I guess I'm thinking that like it's got to be fueled by wanting to like portray himself in a certain way, because it doesn't feel like it's just a genuine kind of like him being in love kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, I guess we'll see how the season progresses. We'll see them go to the Bahamas, so we at least know that that's going to happen. He ends up going for a month, I guess. So TBD. He can still go for a month even if he's not with her.
That's true. I think he's liked the Bahamas for a long time, because also in one of the rewatches, he was saying that in his like ideal scenario, he's like, maybe he meets someone from the Bahamas and like has kids and stays there forever. So clearly he's like always really liked the Bahamas.
I think Craig like spent some time there too, and like they like first like had like this show come off and like be successful and stuff. So
yeah, wasn't that where Craig went? And then he came back and everyone was like, "Oh my God, Craig, you look so good."
I think so. I think
the Bahamas is transformational for the people of Southern Charm.
We should go.
Yeah, maybe we're missing something.
Bahamas, let us know. Is it as good as they're saying? Like, what is up?
We're gonna come back, different people.
Maybe tanner people at least.
Definitely, hopefully. I'll just probably be more red.
Yeah, probably just be burnt, but my lot in life, I don't get much say in it, unfortunately. All right, so before we get to the dog party, we do get a couple small little other scenes. So we get a scene between Molly and Sally. Oh,
Molly and Sally doesn't sound like it's real names. Sorry, just like I haven't heard any of those names in a very long time.
Who are these people? So I guess we find out a little bit about Sally. Obviously, we know that she worked at Republic. We found out that they worked at Republic together at one point, and that's how they met. So it's like interesting how Republic is like the central thing. Like Lev was just, but not even in the show. It's just technically in the show, whatever.
Republic is literally the lifeblood of Charleston, and the fact that they didn't incorporate that into the show is still a travesty.
Still a travesty. Maybe it'll happen now that like Sally and Molly are, and who knows, the younger cast that is coming on the show. Sally works teaching surgeons how to use medical robots, or at least that's what I wrote down.
Yeah, no, that's what it said when she's cool. Not moonlighting as the Republic girl. I don't know.
Why not?
Why
not do both? Yeah, so that's cool. Good for her. Super interesting. And I guess we basically find out that Sally has hooked up with Shep, and she basically kicked him out at 2 a.m. because she was like, okay, this was fun. Bye-bye. Thank you. And then we also find out that she's dated Gaston, which is the thing that we knew.
That's wild. The fact that her and Taylor have these two guys in common.
Oh, and that's the thing, right? They're always talking about Charleston and how it's like this like tiny town and there's all these girls and like very few men. So
that's true.
I guess that kind of makes sense. But basically the version of story that we get from Sally is that she and Gaston dated for 3 months, and then it turns out that he was cheating on her the entire time, and yeah, just not a nice dude, not feeling like he's a good person, and giving us a little bit more information on who this whole Gaston person is too. So
actually, he's giving similar vibes to what we just talked about with Shep. We obviously haven't seen him a lot, and it doesn't sound like he really wants to be
too interested in being like central.
Yeah, or at least doesn't want to be around Shep. But the scenes we do get from him are very just like one word, like not super paying attention to Taylor.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, so the thing I said about Taylor and like Shep trying to like one up Taylor is I kind of feel like that's what she's also doing with this selection. Like I feel like she just kind of shows like, okay, this person's like semi-attractive, like let me just date him. Like I feel like I can't get any sense of kind of chemistry of these two people. Like I don't see why she would be dating him. I just don't understand.
Yeah, it's all very odd.
And she just kind of wants to be with somebody maybe, so she's with this person. I don't know. We'll get into it a little bit more. But in this scene between Molly and Sally, Molly does bring up the whole Whitney cupcake moment, which I think we have many thoughts on.
We have so many thoughts. Yeah. So do you want to give the lowdown, of what happened for those who haven't seen?
So basically in the previous week's episode, they were having a little Easter party. They did like a little dinner at Miss Patricia's house, and they served cupcakes for dessert, as one does. Molly got all excited because she was doing the thing where you like pull open the cupcake and you put the bottom on the top so that you have like a sandwich of a cupcake basically. Mm-hmm. And basically, as she's like ingesting this delicious looking cupcake, it did look amazing. I really want a cupcake right now. Whitney was like, that's the last thing you need to her, which is just like,
the nerve of this. Now we know 56-year-old man with frosted tips, basically.
Right? Looking the worst he's ever looked, in my opinion.
Honestly, that was so bad. That was so bad. This man does not live in reality. Like, this man has lived in a bubble his whole entire life. I can't. I literally, it's too much.
That's just it. And like, if it would have been unacceptable if we didn't know that she had also like been struggling with the fact that she's gained 45 pounds over the last couple of years. She's trying to lose weight. She's trying to like, whatever. She's trying to come to terms with whatever version of her body that she has. She's gorgeous and beautiful and like is perfect and doesn't need to, but like it's up to everybody to do whatever they need to do or they want to do. And so for her to like then get that comment from Whitney, who's this person that she's like kind of been courting or at least like flirting with, and he's allegedly said to her that like she should have his babies, and she thought that there was maybe something there, and then he like says a comment like that, and you're just like, how dare you, like, get out of here.
That was so disgusting. Honestly, that was so bad. And then poor her, like I feel like she's very relatable. Mine is the whole like model really part. Like but like she's like, oh, maybe that's like, like schoolboys when they like someone. She's like, maybe he's calling me fat because he likes me. And she's like, love that for me. And you're like, oh
no, Mom,
I don't love that for you.
Better. I want so much better for you.
Oh my god, just horrendous. Whitney.
Literally. I appreciated how she handled it, like in the moment, like she like I think the whole group kind of called him out on it, or at least was like, dude, what the heck? Patricia 100% was there as well with that. And Molly basically said like, hey, I'm gonna beat up your son, and she was like, yeah, go for it. You're fully entitled.
Even Patricia was like, I can't.
I'm not gonna, I can't. She's like, no, I'm not gonna have grandchildren, I'm gonna have kittens, which is also relatable.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Not a good season for Whitney so far.
No. Pretty bad.
Great. Yeah, he's gonna probably like disappear for another few seasons so that we don't see him. Like, you guys will forget, it's fine. I think we can go into the party now. So dog party kicks off. Taylor asks Rodrigo, who is throwing the party, who's going to be there, and he says that Molly is bringing Sally. So that's kind of like the first little alarm bells in Taylor's mind, because Taylor knows that she has hooked up previously with Shep and also with Gaston. And it's interesting because in this moment we hear Taylor's version of, I guess, Gaston's version of the story versus Sally's version of the story. So many names. And basically Taylor says that he said that, I don't know how to phrase this, in hopes that he would keep her around, and he didn't.
But yeah.
That's what Taylor says. So like, Sally had hopes that Gaston would kind of keep her around, but he didn't. And like, it's just like, it's a weird way to kind of like talk about whatever their relationship was. Obviously, when you're like seeing somebody, you don't always know like the full story of like what they were doing previously. You don't know like if they saw each other for 2 minutes or for 3 months or for 3 years, whatever. Well, maybe if they saw each other for 3 years, but yeah, it's in my mind, I would always trust a woman's version of a storytelling over a man's version of a storytelling.
Yeah.
And so like to hear Taylor like have been told, yeah, she wanted to stay around, but like that wasn't gonna happen, basically. And Taylor to like take that in and then repeat it back to us as if we're gonna be on her side.
It's so true.
And be like,
it's
Sally's so thirsty. She really wanted to be with your boyfriend, but she couldn't. You got him instead. Like, what?
It's so true. It's like, have we learned nothing from Scandival? Like, and
have we learned nothing from last
men?
season when you were like, please don't judge me for like kissing Austin or whatever I ended up doing with Austin? Like,
oh my god, that's such a good point. Yeah.
No, and it's like now I'm total mean girl, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. I'm not.
I think that also just kind of backs up what we're saying about we're like she has a motive with this relationship, and it's
Yeah, I think so. And in general, I feel like this is not a good episode for Taylor. And because then we also have skipping forward a little bit, we have Shep and Sienna show up to the party as well. And, Taylor's kind of making comments about how like Shep hasn't even introduced Taylor to Sienna. And then she goes and she kind of like gets the chance to actually meet Sienna like one-to-one. Basically, like Sienna makes a joke of like, I guess Taylor makes a joke of like, oh yeah, I'm sure you've heard things about me. And she's like, yeah, I have, or whatever. And Taylor's like, oh, good things, I hope. And she's like, yeah, mostly.
Yeah.
And it's just, the like awkwardness of that kind of moment, and Taylor being like, I'm sure I only have good reviews from my ex-boyfriend who I just had last season with, and like it's just
an awkward thing to say. It's like you literally call, like she said some pretty bad things to him.
Yeah.
She mentioned his family. It got pretty dark.
Yeah.
But then she's like, he's the one who cheated on me. Like, didn't you hear what happened? So it's kind of like she's having done to her what she's now doing to Sally, essentially.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And that's just it. Like there's this like kind of like weird, I don't know, like I guess maybe I'm just like not connecting with Taylor, and I just have a hard time feeling for her, or at least especially this season. Like I think I had a little bit of an easier time last season, but like this whole kind of like,
which is crazy because last season she was pretty bad.
Like yeah, she was bad, but like I think I could understand in those moments that there was issues with Taylor, but like in this conversation, for her to kind of be like, but he's the bad guy, I'm the good guy, and to like just look at it as like such a black and white situation where she's like, okay, I'm like fully just like taking out like any part of memory of what actually happened, and I'm just rewriting this version of like, I'm the good one, I'm the one that got cheated on, he's the bad one, and there should be no bad things that he's ever said about me ever to you, his new girlfriend.
It's just awkward. It's awkward all around.
It is awkward all around. But yeah, so that's basically the gist of like what happens at the dog party.
Yeah.
Those are the key
Not a
moments,
lot.
at least.
Honestly,
not a lot.
I feel like the first 2 episodes were like so much happened, and this episode was just kind of like a series of like little things.
100%. It was like, okay, you're good. Well, and I guess maybe it's kind of like establishing a lot of things. It's like, okay, you have to meet Sienna, you have to meet Sally, you have to meet Audrey a little bit. Like, we didn't really get her as much as that maybe you thought that we would, but anyways. And yeah, we're gonna see Rodrigo and we'll get him a little bit more. So it's kind of just been like adding those people in more than it's been actually like doing anything.
Yeah,
but we do get a pretty juicy scene at the end here, so, which I was not expecting because there was only like 5 minutes left of the episode.
I know.
But Madison calls JT and asks to meet. So he agrees. JT basically says that like he's noticed kind of a coldness since the Carolina Cup with Madison, and so now that she's calling and asking to meet with him, he basically knows that Craig has like said something. So he knows that this story that he put out there of like Brett is in love with me. No, Brett is thinking that I'm in love with Madison and Madison and I have an affair and whatever. This whole thing has gotten out. So he's gonna go and like basically confront Madison and get a chance to meet with her and talk about it. So yeah, he basically like, they show up, they have a very awkward little like moment where he like hobbles past her to go into the coffee shop and get his own tea and then like go out and like sit down outside with her. And he asks, what's up? What is happening to me? I'm falling apart. I'm so sorry.
We're almost there.
We're almost there, guys. So yeah, he asks what's up, and Madison basically talks about the fact that, you know, Craig has told me that you are saying that we had an affair, and JT's like, oh, well, that's not exactly what happened. Like, he's kind of twisted it. I don't think I said the word affair, but basically Madison talks about how like she felt blindsided because she thought that they were friends, and now he's kind of like making up these like weird rumors. And in this moment, it's actually interesting because Madison does confirm that the conversation that JT says has happened, right? So like basically Brett did call to kind of find out what happened the like night that like Madison was back at the hotel room and wanted to know who was there. So like there's an acorn, a little sprinkling of truth to whatever started this conversation with JT.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like the way that he's just taken it into like a very strange realm. And basically Madison says like, I think what Brett was trying to find out was like whether Austin was there, like whether I was alone with my ex boyfriend that I had a pretty serious relationship with, not if you were there, JT.
Like, could you imagine that this hit to JT's ego, who already has such a burning, fiery hatred for Austin?
Wants to do an F-boy exorcism on him.
And it's like, yeah, Brett actually did have concerns, but it was about Austin and not you. Yeah, never obviously. You, dear God. Obviously.
And she just like like Madison is like it's like a piece of work, honestly. She like delivers the most like scathing like line to him, basically. It was so like, good. You know how attractive my husband is.
She's like, so, like, you thought I would have an affair with you? It was so good.
I do love it. I thought that was amazing.
Masterclass, really.
Masterclass. Seriously, she should have one of those series. That's kind of where it ends. Madison does bring up the fact that he called Patricia a bitch.
Oh yeah.
And basically JT like disputes that, and he's like, no, I've never used that word. JT tries to basically apologize overall for like everything and the whole phone conversation, and the fact that he like basically brought it to Shep and Craig and realizes like that probably wasn't the best place to like bring it to if he wanted to have a conversation about it. But the bed is made. That is the end of JT.
JT like, is now exiled from society.
Yeah, it's like what's the saying? It's like Madison JT ripcord or something. It's like that is done, completely severed. Yeah. She wants you dead. Yeah, she's like
to have Madison and Miss Pat against you, like you're done.
Sorry, dude. It's gonna be an uphill battle, that's for sure. Do you know how hard Catherine had to work? How many seasons Catherine had to work just to get out from underneath Miss Patricia, let alone Miss Patricia and Madison.
Yeah.
3 people. Yeah. Yeah. So interesting.
I'm still excited for the season. I feel like there's a lot going on. There's different dynamics and like, I'm hopeful.
That's for sure. Yeah, exactly. I think they're starting to set some things up. They're getting us ready for what's to come. And I think we just have to get excited for the Bahamas trip. I think that's going to be juicy AF. I'm so excited.
And I also just want to know what happens with JT to make him leave the show.
I know, I'm so intrigued. Or to potentially come back from
potentially come back
of the show. Like, fascinating. I can't
Which
wait.
Again would be such, I feel like he's giving housewife, like he's giving the delusions of aging housewife.
That's interesting that you say that, because for me, I was like, I kind of want to like picture it as if like it's the last scene that Raquel like ever filmed VPR of like Rachel/Raquel of like, you know, her like confessing like what her and Tom Sandoval actually did, and like the tears and everything. Like maybe JT's gonna have like an actual affair with Madison. He's gonna be like crying and be like, oh my god, we did. Husband was going through thyroid cancer and we had an affair.
Oh my god.
I mean, I guess we'll find out. Like, all to be determined.
That's wild.
It's very blasphemous of me. I'm sorry. That was probably the spiciest thing I feel like I've ever said.
It's a joke. It's okay.
It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a total joke. It's a joke. There's nothing based in reality on that. But yes, that was this episode of Southern Charm.
Okay, I want to comment on this really quickly and not spend too much time. I do want to get into Summer House, which is fun, but just because you brought up Raquel,
oh god,
we talked a little bit about James and him being arrested for DV, and now we know that Allie has moved out. I think that we've gotten so much more around the story, and it's bad. It's really bad, and I can't help but think that not just us, but like everyone has been making excuses for this dude for a long time. And I'm like, were we fooled by him?
Yeah.
I feel dumb.
Yeah, that 100%. Like, I feel like especially when Scandoval broke, like the fact that he was kind of like the first, like, I want to say like truth teller or something, right? Like he was the person that like, because of what he was doing on Instagram, all of us like was like, oh my god, it must be real. Like James's, and so we kind of also like got whipped up in kind of like what was happening there. And it kind of like maybe kind of supported this whole like maybe we are more of a team James kind of like group of people, and it's
and he did seem to have just shown such growth, and he brought the you know the comedy, it was lighter than Scandoval at the time, but it's like for him to do what is now being alleged, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. And I just wanted to bring that up because I feel like when it did at first come, we were like, we're disappointed. And I am still very disappointed.
Yeah, of course.
I think we've just learned more, and it's just like, definitely don't want to look like we're condoning anything in any way.
No, definitely. And like interesting to think about kind of like what level of, you know, information might have been out there in terms of kind of like what VPR has like captured and just like kept hidden, or
oh my god, well, this is it, right? Like, and Lisa hasn't said anything, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Lala was asked about it, and she had a wild answer.
What did she say? What did she say?
Levels of delusion. She basically was like, you know, I haven't spoken to him. I checked up on Allie, but, you know, I don't really think about it. And, you know, when you're an adult, you have your own life and you don't think about other people's lives. And, you know, it's just not something that I think about. And
so
it's like,
interesting. So interesting. You were such a ride or die up until like last season.
But also she had so much to say about like Ariana's relationship and like and how she was dealing with her breakup, and like it's just, and for her not even to say in any way that wasn't okay. She just skirted it completely and turned it into, I'm an adult and I don't concern myself with the lives of other people.
Right. Yeah. Like I don't have anything to comment. I don't have any thoughts about it. Like nothing, and just
weird.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So we'll see what's to come. I hope Allie's okay, and I do hope that James takes a good hard look at himself and what he needs to do in the future to not go back to this. And if this is what alcohol does to him, then, you know. Yeah.
And I think he, like, it feels like he has learned that lesson, and the fact that he, I guess, hasn't, or just kind of thinks that he can continue to kind of like have maybe I can have a relationship with alcohol or whatever it might be, like, is just, you know, you can't.
Yeah, so that's a bummer. I just wanted to like bring it up real quick. But let's talk about something more fun, which is Summer House. We just got a new trailer and it looks so good. I'm so excited. I want it to be on right now.
Yeah, I know, I'm so excited. It does look really good. Have to admit, when I first watched so I watched the trailer a couple times. When I first watched the trailer, I didn't realize that there was a new girl character on it at all, and then I was like looking on Instagram and I saw the new cast photo and I was like, who the heck is that? Who's that girl? Where did she come from? And so then I had to go back and watch the trailer again and be like, oh no, we did meet a new girl. I just completely like wiped out that whole other person.
I actually watched it multiple times as well.
Yeah.
There was like so much to take in.
There was so much going on, and at the first it starts off like so innocent. You're like, oh yeah, like boys, girls
We're
in
all
a
having
house,
fun.
they're flirting and things are happening, and then it just gets crazier because like Kyle is trying to be Diplo, and like Kyle is fighting with Paige, and it's gonna get good, and Paige and Craig are gonna break up, and you're just like, yeah, that's happening.
It does make sense too now that we've been getting so many Craig and Paige breakup rumors, and now it does look like we're gonna, peek behind their relationship a little bit, pull back the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like, obviously they don't break up, but it's clear that some of the cracks are going to start to show a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, no, we must preserve them at all costs. It's interesting too to have Sierra being to Paige saying that like her boyfriend's a hater.
Yeah, intriguing to see what that's going to be all about.
Yeah, so that looks so good.
That and the allegations that Lindsay makes about Carl having cheated on her during their relationship,
Right?
which will be interesting to see that unfold.
Oh my god, yeah, so crazy. I think this is gonna be Paige's season, I have to say, just from the few scenes that we got from it, and
So
her being
excited to
like
watch
to
her
Craig,
fight with
like,
Kyle.
what?
Oh
So
my
I shouldn't
God.
be a strong, independent woman, and also, yeah, her thing about like we were with your wife while you were trying to be Diplo.
Well, then even then he like Kyle like calls her like Two-Faced, and she's like doubles back, and she's like, "What did you say about me? What did you say about me?"
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
clocking in.
She is. It's also like giving me like little sister with big brother energy, where it's like she is like not gonna stand for anything. She's gonna be as big as you. She's gonna fight as much as you, and she's gonna be louder than you. And she's
for sure.
Make you listen. So I cannot wait. I'm so excited for this season to come out. Oh my god,
the new guy. I don't think I'm gonna like the new guy. I'm already saying it. He's giving. What was that guy in the season? Like the first few seasons where he would have those like.
Jordan.
No, Jordan, where he would have those like really ridiculous sexual stories that everyone was like,
no,
that's what this new dude is giving.
Yes,
like,
interesting. Yeah,
the
gross.
first things that we learn about you is all just like the number of the girls you hook up with in a night, which is gross.
More than one is bad.
Yeah.
Well, each their own, but I think more than one is just not.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's gonna be really good. I'm quite excited.
I think it's gonna be really good. And it's coming soon. Like it's only 2 months away.
Yeah, I also want to know what happened like with Sierra and what's his face?
Yes, I'm sure we'll get a
Wes.
little bit more information on that one. It did seem like Wes was laying pretty low.
Yeah, we like didn't even see him at all
on the trailer. It's basically in a coffin, and that was about it.
And then we see Jesse's, I think, gonna get in some trouble with some ladies.
Yeah.
Jesse and Sierra have been seen together quite a bit.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I know the new girl is like getting jealous or whatnot.
Right. Well, and then there's even like so this is the thing, we're gonna have to deal with like single Carl, which like that whole like conversation, there's like a conversation between him and a girl, like
so awkward
snippet of like her being like, you kind of give off like lemur energy, and he's like, is that good? And she's like, yeah, I like lemurs. And it's just like this is giving like Tom Schwartz being like, get my mojo out there, kind of like, this is not cute, guys. This is not attractive. We do not want to see it.
But the last scene with Tom Schwartz, how much did your heart just be like, oh god, we're not gonna have this anymore? And he's like, guys, you're happy for like, remember these moments, cherish them. Like, I used to have that.
I know. And for us to like come like full circle kind of on like with Summer House and kind of like Vanderpump Rules in particular, like Vanderpump Rules, we always talk about how it was launched off of Beverly Hills, but Summer House was launched off of Vanderpump Rules. Like, this was the show that launched another show. Like, Vanderpump Rules was so monumental
that it launched a full-on other
Summer
show.
House. Like,
it's so true.
It was not like, that's crazy. And like we saw, Stassi introduced us to them, and Schwartz is gonna say goodbye to us with them, and I just can't.
I mean, I'm sure they'll be on more. But also Schwartz saying that at the time, like Summer House, Vanderpump Rules was still going.
not even knowing what was going to happen.
We've been on such a journey with Schwartz. It was so funny. I showed this to
We've
my
been on
fiance because
such
I
a
was like,
journey.
look at this. I was like, look at this scene with Schwartz. It's so good. And he's like, wait, I thought you don't like Schwartz. And I'm like, I shouldn't like Schwartz.
It's just a love-hate thing kind of thing. You can't help it.
You just can't not. Like,
yeah.
Anyways,
Like,
yeah.
he's technically the least abusive person in that group of men.
Yeah, there's another meme that is like shows him on like a Watch What Happens Live when he's like super distraught, and it's like, is he the number one guy in the group? Like, he's all we have left? Like, this is as good as it can get.
I hate that. Oh my god. It's so sad. It just kills me.
Yeah. But
I'm in denial, quite frankly. Like, I do not believe that there's not
no, same. Like, we're gonna be covering Vanderpump Rules next year. And it's
they're gonna realize that this was a mistake, and they're gonna be like, how do we get
they're gonna be like, just kidding. Yeah, but there's a lot to look forward to. We're very excited. Yes. Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.